The email arrived while I was reviewing briefing documents in my London office. Emily's wedding is September 3rd at Ashford Manor. We've decided to keep it intimate, just close family and James's relatives. We know international travel is expensive from London, so we didn't want to put that pressure on you. We'll video chat you in for the ceremony. I read it 3 times. My mother's careful construction of exclusion, wrapped in false concern. My younger sister Emily was marrying James Whitmore at one of the Cotswolds' most exclusive estates. His family owned a hospitality empire. This wasn't intimate, it was the social event of their season. And they were offering to video chat me in like I couldn't afford the flight. I was 34, living in London for 8 years, working in what my family vaguely understood as something with the government. They knew I'd taken a position abroad after graduate school. They knew I sent expensive gifts and made brief appearances when my schedule allowed. What they didn't know, because they'd never asked the right questions, was that I served as senior private advisor to His Royal Highness Prince Alexander, the Queen's nephew. My government work meant managing diplomatic relations, coordinating royal engagements, serving as key liaison between the royal household and international organizations. They didn't know because my work required discretion. I'd signed confidentiality agreements preventing me from discussing specifics. Royal service meant staying invisible while facilitating everything. They'd concluded I was some struggling mid-level civil servant, too minor to matter in their increasingly elevated social circles. The family group chat showed 43 messages. Emily's engagement photos, my mother's planning updates, relatives discussing outfits for this intimate gathering at a manor that hosted royalty. My mother's message from last week. Emily wanted to keep the guest list small. Vanessa's schedule is so unpredictable with her work, and we didn't want to ask her to fly home for just a weekend. She'll watch via video. Translation: Vanessa doesn't enhance our image enough to justify including her. I opened my calendar. September 3rd was blocked for a royal engagement, but the morning was clear. Then I saw it in my briefing notes. James Whitmore's father, Robert Whitmore, had just been appointed to the board of the Prince's Trust, the charitable foundation Prince Alexander chaired. The appointment announcement was scheduled for September 5th. The same Whitmore family my sister was marrying into. I pulled up the intelligence brief on the Whitmore family. Robert Whitmore, hospitality magnate, recent OBE recipient. And in the notes, Whitmore family hosting private wedding September 3rd at Ashford Manor. Notable guests expected from business and political circles. My assistant Sophie entered with afternoon tea. The briefing materials for next week's trust reception are ready. Pull up the Whitmore file first. Robert Whitmore's son is getting married this weekend. The bride is my sister. Sophie's eyes widened. Your sister? And you're not attending? They think I can't afford the trip. She paused diplomatically. Your family doesn't know what you do. They think I'm a struggling civil servant. I set down my tea. Contact Ashford Manor's events coordinator. I want to RSVP for myself and a guest. What guest? Prince Alexander. If he's willing. Prince Alexander listened with the careful attention he brought to all diplomatic situations. At 41, he understood immediately the nuances of what I was proposing. Your family excluded you from your own sister's wedding, he said flatly. They phrased it as not wanting to pressure me with expensive travel. But yes. And they've told relatives you couldn't afford to attend. That's the narrative. He leaned back. The Whitmores have been quite keen on royal connections since Robert's board appointment. They seem to believe prominence equals access. They've been disappointed to learn we don't simply appear at events upon request. Not in your world. No. Vanessa, if I attend this wedding as your guest, and I'm inclined to, both because you're important to me and because the Whitmores need to understand royal connections flow through relationships, not transactions, it will cause significant disruption. Your family will be humiliated publicly. I know. He studied me. You've served me extraordinarily well for 6 years. You're brilliant, discreet, invaluable. If your family can't see your worth because you maintain professional confidentiality, that's their failure. I'd be honored to attend. Sophie handled logistics with precision. No advance notice, that would leak. Just quiet coordination with royal protection and a simple RSVP. Ms. Vanessa Harrison and guest will attend. The coordinator called within an hour. Miss Harrison, we don't have you on the original guest list. I'm the bride's sister. I'll be attending with a guest. May I ask who for security purposes? His Royal Highness Prince Alexander. The silence stretched endlessly. I'm sorry, did you say? Prince Alexander, the Queen's nephew. He's attending as my personal guest. Your security team should coordinate with royal protection. Miss Harrison, the bride's family didn't mention. I'm sure they didn't know I'd be attending. It's a surprise. September 3rd arrived with golden sunshine. I dressed carefully in a designer dress, jewelry understated but unmistakably expensive. The private car picked me up at 10 a.m. Alexander was already inside, looking every inch the royal in morning dress. Ready for this? He asked. Part of me wants to prove they were wrong. Part of me just wants them to see me for who I actually am. They will. Though not in the way they expected. We arrived at Ashford Manor at 11:30. The estate was magnificent. Rolling grounds, centuries-old manor house, gardens that had hosted royal parties. Expensive cars lined the drive. The events coordinator met us, face pale. Miss Harrison, Your Royal Highness, welcome. I've notified the hosts. They asked if you could wait. We'll take our seats, I said calmly. The ceremony begins in 25 minutes. We entered the garden ceremony venue. White chairs, expensive flowers, guests already seated. Every head turned when we entered. Recognition rippled through the crowd. Whispers started. Is that Prince Alexander? Who is that woman with him? We took seats in the third row. My mother appeared from a side entrance, her face shocked and horrified. She rushed toward us. Vanessa, she hissed. What are you doing here? You said you couldn't come. I said no such thing. You told me I wasn't invited. I decided to attend anyway. I gestured to Alexander. Mother, this is my guest, His Royal Highness Prince Alexander. Alexander, my mother, Patricia Harrison. My mother's mouth opened soundlessly. Nearby guests had gone silent. Your Royal Highness, she finally managed, attempting an awkward curtsy. We didn't know. Vanessa, why didn't you tell us? Tell you what? That I work for the royal household? I tried for years. You weren't interested. You assumed I was struggling in London. But he's. The ceremony is starting. This is Emily's day. Let's not disrupt it further. My mother retreated, face flushed. The ceremony began 5 minutes late. Emily walked down the aisle looking beautiful and terrified, her eyes widening when she saw who sat beside me. The ceremony proceeded with awkward tension. When they kissed, the applause was subdued, overshadowed by unspoken questions. The receiving line was excruciating. When we reached Emily and James, Emily's eyes filled with tears. Vanessa, I didn't know, Mom said. Mom said what she needed to say to justify excluding me. Congratulations, Emily. James had gone pale. Your Royal Highness, this is unexpected. I'm here as Vanessa's guest, Alexander said easily. Personal capacity. She's my senior advisor and I wouldn't miss her sister's wedding. Family is important. The words hung like a verdict. She's my senior advisor. The title that explained everything. Your advisor, James repeated faintly. For 6 years, I confirmed. Before that, Foreign Office. I tried to explain at family gatherings, but the details are confidential. My family assumed I was unimportant. The reception unfolded in waves of disaster. Robert Whitmore approached Alexander with barely concealed excitement. Your Royal Highness, what an honor. I'm here for Vanessa, Alexander said coolly. She's family to me. When I learned she'd been excluded from her own sister's wedding, I felt my attendance would send an important message about her value. Robert's expression shifted to alarm. Excluded. Ask her parents. They told relatives she couldn't afford to attend. Alexander's tone could have frozen wine. I watched Robert process the implications. His new royal board connection, his son marrying into a family that had insulted that connection's most valued advisor. His face went from excited to horrified. Guests approached cautiously, desperate to understand. My Aunt Rachel cornered me. Your mother said you were too busy. I wasn't too busy. I wasn't invited. The meal was excruciating. My parents sat in visible misery at the head table. Emily cried through dinner. James looked shell-shocked. Robert approached during dessert. "Miss Harrison, might I have a word?" I followed him to a quiet corner. He ran his hand through his hair, composure cracking. "I need to understand what happened. My son married your sister and I've learned the bride's family excluded you, the senior advisor to the prince whose board I'm joining. This is catastrophic. I'm 2 days from a reception where I'll be introduced to major royal connections. This story will spread immediately. I imagine it will. Can we mitigate this?" "Explain what?" "That my family assumed I was unimportant because I maintained discretion? There's no good explanation, Mr. Whitmore. Perhaps use this as a learning moment. Royal connections aren't transactional. They're built on relationships and character." The speeches began. My father talked about Emily, the Whitmore family. He didn't mention me once. Then Robert stood, voice strained. "Family is the foundation of everything. I hope this marriage reminds us to value every family member, to never make assumptions about worth based on surface appearances, and to appreciate people who work quietly behind the scenes." The pointed remarks were lost on no one. My mother's face flushed red. Emily stood suddenly, cutting off the schedule. "I want to say something to my sister Vanessa." She looked at me, tears streaming. "I'm sorry. We're all sorry. We were wrong about everything. We didn't see you, didn't value you. Thank you for coming anyway." I walked to her, wrapped my arms around her as she sobbed. "It's your wedding day. Let's not let this ruin it. We'll deal with everything else later." Alexander and I left at 8 p.m. In the car back to London, he asked, "Are you all right?" "I don't know. I proved my point. But it doesn't feel as satisfying as expected. Because you wanted them to value you before they knew your position. You wanted them to see you, not your proximity to me." "Exactly. They will, eventually. Or they won't. But Vanessa, you're extraordinary regardless of their recognition." The trust reception 2 days later was painfully awkward. The Whitmores attended, aware everyone had heard about the wedding disaster. My parents sent flowers with a card. "Can we talk? Please?" I didn't respond yet. Emily called a week later. "I ended my honeymoon early. I couldn't enjoy it knowing what we did. Please, can we try to fix this? You can't undo years of dismissing me. You can't take back excluding me. I know. But can we try?" I looked out at London, the life I'd built that my family never understood. "Maybe. Foley. If you actually mean it." "I do. We all do. Time would tell. For now, I had my work, my position, friendships built on respect. I had Alexander's trust. I had proof that I mattered even when my family couldn't see it. And I had the satisfaction of knowing my sister's wedding would be remembered for the moment my family learned exactly who they'd been dismissing. Sometimes that had to be enough.